Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to do an update to an extremely popular video that I did about 5 days ago, which is titled, Man Ends Shortest Marriage in History After Catching His Wife and Brother and Maid of Honor in a Three-Way After the Wedding. And let me tell you guys, when I first did that video, I predicted this would be one of the biggest videos of the year, top 5. And given your reaction in the comment section, that I think is certainly a possibility. There's only a few videos I've seen this many comments on, and this was one of them. And it was just something else to see your response, and I really appreciate that. And the guy that wrote this definitely did, as you're going to see. Now, as a recap, I know it's a few days old, but I'll do a recap anyway. That's about the guy. He wrote in. He, I believe, is 41 years old or early 40s. And he shared his story about what was, in my opinion, the shortest marriage in history. 12 hours to be exact. Where he married his girl. He knew her for a number of years, I think like 5 years. I think they lived together for a while, I believe, unless I'm mixing that up with another story. And he married her and thought he had a great thing going. And his brother, older brother, was his best man. And he described his older brother as a guy he always looked up to, a guy he always had his back. His brother had his, at least that's what he thought. He literally would hide a body for him, would take a bullet for him, all that, you know. And after the wedding, he got drunk at the wedding and he passed out. He woke up in the middle of the night and the girl was gone. Couldn't find her because the wedding's over. Walked through the house, heard some noises, and long story short, he barged in a room and saw the wife, his new wife of like 11 hours, his brother, and the maid of honor all partaking in a threesomething. Guy lost it, kicked the brother's ass. The parents came in, freaking out, drama, all that. And he was out of there. And the parents pretty much wanted him to let it go. Sweep it under the rug, it was a drunken mistake, that type of thing. Right? No. And he ended it with her, and of course ended with the brother. And they kept trying to get him to talk to the brother. The brother tried to get him to talk to him. Nope, not having it. And for like 16 years, had nothing to do with the whole family. Like 16 years. That's serious. And I don't blame at all. Then one day, he finds out that the brother is in the hospital dying. Pancreatic cancer in his early 40s. You want to talk about karma. Brother dies. He refuses to see him in the hospital. The brother's dying wish to see him, to apologize, because the brother said he was how sorry he was, sent him a letter and all that. This guy went to the wedding, the funeral, to pay his last respects, even though, he certainly didn't have to. And lo and behold, he sees his ex there and sees a 16-year-old daughter. How about that? They had a kid together. And the brother's dying wish was for him to get to know the girl and all that, the daughter and all that. And he ended it. He hadn't talked to them since. And he was wondering, to me and to you guys, what should he do? Should he be in her life and all that? And I shared my opinion on the whole thing. I said to him, you know what? You don't owe them anything. That you should, in time when you're ready, forgive your brother for your own peace. That way you're not carrying around all this anger and hatred in your heart. And as for your family, I have nothing to do with them until they really acknowledge that they just swept your feelings under the rug. They prioritized him and all that. And as for the girl, she could be a great kid, but you don't owe her anything, and going back into all that drama, opening that can of worms. I'm sure she's a great kid. She's got family of her own. She's fine. She doesn't need you. We pick up, guys. I know it was a long intro, but, I'm in one of these moods to talk. We pick up where he brought me back, and he let me know that he did some soul searching. He read a lot of the comments you guys said, and, let's just say he went and talked to his family and found out a lot more information. And if you thought some parts were crazy before, we're just getting started. If you thought his deceased brother and his ex-wife were pieces of garbage then, we're just getting started as to what you're about to find out in this story. And things with his family and all that. So I thought it'd be a very good one to cover, and I raced to do this today because he sent it to me last night. So it picks up, he says, Hello, SSM and community. I recently shared my story about the darkest time in my life when I found out my brother, my wife of 11 hours, and her best friend cheating on me on our wedding night. I sent my story in looking for some outside perspective on my situation concerning my niece, and you didn't disappoint. I want to thank everyone that took the time out of their lives to share your opinions and give advice. Over the last few days, I read every single comment, and it took a long time, but it was helpful, so thank you all. So I was curious, and after 24 hours of me publishing the video, there were approximately 1,700 plus comments. I rarely get that many in a 24-hour period. So you guys did a great job. I know I asked you to, and I thank you for helping. See, guys, you're helping guys out. You taking 30 seconds, a minute of your time to write something helps dudes out. And that video also had about 55,000 views or something like that after 24 hours. He says here, it was after work yesterday, on Thursday, that I stopped by my church to talk to my pastor. I know the general consensus was to forgive and stay away, but I had no idea how to forgive what they did. It's easy to say, but it doesn't change how I feel about it. I've known my pastor for nearly 6 years, and he's always given me good advice, so I wanted to see what his thoughts were on the matter. Oh boy. I wasn't looking for a different opinion than what you gave. I was just trying to figure out how to use that advice with a clear head. He says it was an interesting conversation, and I had him watch the video before we talked. SSM, he liked the advice that you gave and commented on how he appreciated that you weren't all scorched earth in your approach, his words, and he ended up asking me a lot of questions about how I felt about the impact it's had on my life, and after some wrangling, he pulled the answers out of me. Wow, you showed my channel and my video to a pastor. That could have gone completely different. I want to make sure I get to heaven, guys, if there is one here. So I'm glad I got a man of the cloth on my side, because I'm sure I got plenty against me. What he helped me realize was that while the counseling I had helped me to get back into a functional life, I still had so much hate weighing on my heart that I had not dealt with, and it was crippling a real recovery. That's what I've been thinking, man. That's why I really said at the end of the video, as much as you have great reason to hate your brother and your family, you got to find a way to forgive so you, not them, you can have peace and not walk around with anger and hatred. He says here, the counseling only helped me kick the can down the road and not deal with the real issue. He said, until I truly deal with the issue, there's no way to forgive and move on in my own life because it would always be the anchor weighing me down. And he was right. I have a good life, but I've cut myself off from other people because I have significant trust issues. He also asked me a question that a lot of commentators asked. How do I know the child isn't really my kid? That was probably one of the biggest questions that you guys had. And it was a darn good question. And a question that I definitely thought about. That was when I realized that I had no idea, and that led me to a bit of understanding the issue as a whole. I didn't know anything, and it was the why that was holding me back from moving on. The last time I talked to anyone who was involved was when I stormed out of my parents' home the morning after my wedding day, and I didn't have any answers about anything. It's been the unresolved questions that's been holding back my life. Thank you all for asking questions and making me face questions I didn't even know how to ask. For the last 16 years, the only thing that's kept me getting up every day was the anger that's been poisoning my heart and eating away at any chance of truly moving on from that time in my life. What I did for my own peace of mind and nothing else. Bro, what you went through, I mean, some dudes may have offed themselves. Some dudes may have gone down the path of drugs and alcohol. And then that would have had a ripple effect into other areas. You know, the fact that you don't need to apologize. You didn't say it, but you don't need to apologize or make excuses or what you did what you had to do for you. Okay? And all things considered, you handled it pretty freaking well. So it's cool. But as you said, you have a lot of that anger and hate as an anchor, anchoring your heart and moving on. And that's what I suspected all along. When I got home, I had a few drinks and thought about everything that was said here and what I discussed with my pastor. It's been 3 months since the funeral, and I found myself slipping back into a bit of depression, and I knew it was because there were too many unknowns. I ended up calling my dad. He was surprised at first and tried a little small talk, but I cut him off and told him I was coming over today after work to talk and that I needed some answers. I think he might have misunderstood me at first because he was talking like we made up, but I cleared that up. I told him that I was going to ask questions and they were going to give me answers, and if I thought they were hiding something or telling me half-truths, it would be the last time they ever heard from me. And he agreed, and we set up a time. Good. Very good. You made that abundantly clear. No bullshit. I want to lay all the cards on the table. It's been 16 years since you heard from me. This is your chance. Before I hung up, I told him to invite Becca over because I had questions for her as well, and he said he would call her. Becca, his ex-wife of 11, 12 hours. This is going to be interesting. He says, now I know that people are probably throwing their computers against the wall by now, but I needed this, and I've never been that guy to run away from my fears. Yeah, some people are throwing their computers or smartphones, or if they're watching this on the couch on the TV, the remotes, or beer bottles or something, but yeah, that can be expected. But I know why you're doing this, and, I get it. Ripping the Band-Aid off is always better in the long run, and I need to look them all in the eyes. I don't think I fell asleep until around 3 o'clock in the morning and ended up calling in sick from work the next day. My anxiety was all over the place, but I needed some resolution so I could put this behind me and move on. Yes, it is time. By the time I made it to my parents' house, for the first time since my wedding, I had made peace with the fact that this was not going to be a happy reunion, but it was something that I had to do. After knocking on the door, my mom opened up and tried to hug me, but I stopped her. I told her I was only here to get some answers, and she started crying, but led me into the kitchen. I was a little shocked to see Amanda sitting beside Becca. Amanda is the niece. I'm not sure if they thought it was going to go easy with her there, and I had no intentions of hurting her, but Becca was the one that brought her into this. Remember, this was supposed to be Mom, Dad, and his ex of 11 or 12 hours, not the niece. Is it possible that his ex brought her along to probably, keep him from shouting more F words than you can imagine, or soften his heart up a bit? Who knows? But I feel a slight manipulation tactic by bringing the niece. Call me crazy. As soon as I sat down, my dad tried to apologize to me, but I told him I didn't want an apology, that I wanted some answers. Everyone was quiet for a few minutes, just staring at me before my dad asked what I wanted to know. Becca was avoiding looking at me, but I asked her what Amanda knew, and she just shook her head. I almost got up and left, but I had no intentions of ever doing this again. I asked Becca how long it was going on before I found them, and at first she didn't say anything. But it was Amanda that asked what I was talking about. Interesting, the niece doesn't know. The niece does not need to be here for this conversation, what's about to be going on here. Go in the backyard and look at fucking Instagram, but she should not be there for this. And her mother and your parents should know that. But Amanda doesn't know. Of course, that's when the waterworks started, but Becca didn't say anything. Amanda asked me what I was talking about and why her mom was crying. I waited for another couple minutes to give Becca a chance to say something, but when she didn't, I told Amanda we were talking about what happened on our wedding day, and her eyes went wide. She had no idea that we were married. Man, I can't imagine this conversation going down. Of course she didn't know, because that would mean her mom would have to explain what went wrong, and that her mom was not the very good wife. That was when my mom asked me to not do this in front of Amanda. Excuse me, Mom. I want to talk to you, Dad, and Becca, not Amanda. Amanda's 16. She could have stayed at home and been on fucking Instagram or whatever all day, which we all know is a bad idea, but you get my point. Amanda wasn't supposed to be here. And you're talking to me after 16 years. I wouldn't be giving me shit right about now. By then, Amanda was asking her mom if it was true, and Becca was just crying, of course. I was about done and told her that if she didn't tell her, I was going to. Then she told me how we had dated for almost 5 years before we got married, and that she cheated on me with my brother on our wedding night. She left out most of the gory details, but she told her that what was important. I felt a little bad that Amanda had to find out something about her mom and dad that the way she did, but it pales in comparison to the life I've been living the last 16 years. Amanda ended up running out of the house crying, and the kitchen was dead silent except for Becca's crying. What do you expect the girl to do? I mean, what a bunch of jackasses bringing the girl along. My mom ended up going outside, I assumed to find Amanda, and I asked Becca how long it had been going on behind my back. Here we go, guys. Hold your remotes, hold your beer bottles, don't throw anything or whatever you're about to hear. Well, all of you in the comments that didn't believe our wedding day was the first time were spot on. Apparently, they've been hooking up for about 3 months. 3 months. I had wondered when I did the video if that was the only roll in the hay. And I hoped that was the only one. But I suspected it's been going on a while. 3 months. His brother, his older brother who he loved and looked up to, was his hero, and his wife who he thought was so amazing and great, you all remember that, hooking up. And still, she went up there and married him. And the brother was the best man while he was saying the vows, but he was nailing his wife, his girlfriend, his fiance, now wife, for 3 months. As if they weren't pieces of shit already. It takes it to a whole new level of being a piece of shit. Oh my God. But nothing surprised me that much in this world. She kept trying to apologize to me. Yeah, that's going to make a difference. Saying that she never meant to hurt me, but I told her shut up because I didn't want to hear it. She married me with my brother standing there as my best man, knowing that she'd been cheating on me with him for months. Then I asked if she was sure that Dan was the father, and she just nodded. That was when my dad chimed in and it all started to make more sense. When you said in the first story how this didn't make it on Jerry Springer, good point. I don't know how it didn't. He said that they'd been trying to talk to me after the wedding fiasco to apologize for their initial reaction, but when Becca found out that she was pregnant and didn't know who the father was, they decided to leave me alone until they could verify paternity. I cut him off and reminded him of the letter they left taped on my door, calling it a huge, drunken mistake when they knew that he'd been cheating on me for months. It was after Amanda was born and they found out that Dan was the father that my parents decided to leave me alone because they were afraid that if I found out that Dan got my wife pregnant, that I would have offed him. Not a figure of speech, they were probably right. You recall in his story that when he walked in to all three of them rolled in the hay, he kicked the shit out of his brother. And that was that was completely warranted. And I said, wink, wink, nod, nod. His brother wasn't the only one that should have got ass whooping that day. I can't say what I'm really thinking, but you get the point. But then again, he would have been in prison. And, he's been in a internal prison for 16 years, but then he'd be in actual prison. We don't want that. The morning I left the house, I guess it was total chaos. Yeah. After I left, both of our parents sat Dan and Becca down and demanded the truth, and they told them everything. I guess my dad was so angry that he beat the hell out of Dan and kicked him out of the house. Thank the Lord one of your parents is doing something right. So you kicked his ass, and then your dad kicked his ass. He's walking around with bruises on his face for a month. He didn't see him again until Amanda was born, and it took years to rebuild any kind of relationship, but they tried to be good grandparents for Amanda. Well, that's good. They were good grandparents for Amanda, because Amanda is the innocent one in this whole story. Becca and Dan never got into a relationship. Well, no shit. They were F-buddies. And those two aren't meant to have relationships. Those two shouldn't have relationships with anybody. But I guess they were good co-parents. Becca just kept telling me how sorry she was, but I had all the answers I needed. I got up and said that I wanted to talk to Amanda alone for a minute and went outside to find her, and my mom sitting on the porch steps. Amanda was crying and my mom was talking to her. I sat down on the other side of Amanda and asked my mom if I could have a minute, and she went back inside. Imagine you're this emotional 16-year-old girl when emotions are all over the place, and find out that your mom was married to your dad's brother and did all that to him, and amongst the fact that her dad died 3 months ago. Good God. I hope young Amanda here doesn't take advice from her mother about things. It says, honestly, I had no idea what to say. Here I was sitting beside a girl that in another life could have been my daughter. I said the first thing that came to my mind. I told her I was sorry she lost her dad, and that if she ever wanted to know anything about him, that she could ask me. I'm not going to go into the rest of our conversation, but we ended up talking for a little more than an hour. I did tell her about the relationship I had with her mother and how much they hurt me. I also told her about my childhood and how much I looked up to my brother. It was strange sitting beside her. She had a lot of facial expressions that reminded me of my brother. It was when we had been talking for a little while that I realized that I wasn't angry for the first time since my wedding. It was like a weight had lifted off my heart. She told me about her life and some of the stories my brother had told her about me, and always wondered why we had never met. Dan and Becca never told her that I had been in a relationship with her mom, and I think the moment I realized I wasn't angry anymore was when Amanda said that she would understand if I hated her. Of course he wouldn't hate her. Well, I hope not. It's not her fault. It caught me a little off guard, but looking at her, I could see the brother that I loved. It would have been easy to hold Amanda responsible for my brother and Becca's betrayal, and many of the comments said just to do that. The truth is, she's not responsible for decisions that were made before she was even born. She's a kid that just lost her dad and just found out that her mom is trash. Trash is a nice word. There could be a lot of other words used before trash. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship or what that would ever look like, but she's no more responsible for the actions of her parents than I am for the actions of my own. We shall see. When we finished talking, we went back inside where my parents were, and Becca were talking. My dad asked me if it was okay, if I was okay, and I told him that I'm fine and that I forgive them for how I was treated, but that for the time being I need to work on myself and my life before I would ever consider letting them back into my life, if ever. I reminded him that they were still trying to get me to forgive Dan when they knew all along he had been sleeping with my fiancée. Yes, let us not forget that, and never let them forget that. I told Becca that because of what she did to me, that she will never have a place in my life and to never speak to me again. Freaking men. I told Amanda that I was going to take some time, but if she wanted to talk some more, I would be willing. That is very big of you, bro. It really is. And you know what? As I said before, you have no obligation. You really don't. But again, as I made clear, it's not the girl's fault. Her parents are assholes, but hopefully a good person can come from two assholes. Hopefully. That was just a few hours ago, and for the first time in a longer time than I can remember, I don't feel the anger I've been wearing like a cheap suit. That's great, man. I don't know if I made the right decision, but it feels right. Well, I tell you guys all the time, trust your gut, trust your instincts, and if it feels right, okay. I know nearly everyone said to just cut them all off, and maybe that would have been the easiest thing to do. But I'm tired of being angry and giving other people that kind of power over me. Maybe in a few years, I'll give my parents another chance, but it's not likely, and maybe I'll become the uncle that Amanda never knew. Time will tell. Until then, I have a lot of work to do. You all have my heartfelt gratitude. Well, brother, I honestly didn't expect to hear from you anytime soon. I thought maybe 6 months at the earliest, but I'm really glad you wrote. And I'm so glad to hear that it was a big help to you. Because if you didn't write in, who knows what would have happened, you know? And I think it's amazing here on YouTube, you know, you can have a men's channel where men hear about other guys' struggles, what they go through and all that. And through comments and sharing advice, it helps guys look at things differently, get some insight, and move forward in life. And I think that's great. And so, bro, like I said in the other video, you had no obligation to talk to your parents again or your niece Amanda, but that choice was yours. And I'm glad you talked to your pastor. You know, I know I got a lot of religious folks that watch me, and your pastor is very important to you. And it's interesting. Hey, it's very interesting that he showed up my channel. I could have gone a completely different direction, but. And then he was able to talk about the thing that the anger and the hate weighing you down. And that was my initial thought the whole time in the first video. And so if it took this, finding out everything that happened and your parents and your ex and all that to help you be able to move on and to find some peace, and as you say, you're not feeling that anger anymore, that's worth it. It really is. And like I said, I mean, if I didn't think that the older brother and his ex were a piece of shit before, now knowing that this went on for 3 freaking months, and she still married you, and he stood up there. Oh my God. But you know what? He's gone. He's gone. Karma came back in the worst way, and he's toast. Okay? You may never forgive him. I urge you to, if you can find it some way, somehow down the road, like I said, for you, so you can have peace. But good Lord. And as for your ex, I would say another thing to her. Ever. Maybe you can egg her car on Halloween or something like that, you know. But with your niece, time will tell. Maybe you'll have a relationship with her. Maybe you won't. But I hope she's all right. And I hope, good Lord, I hope that she doesn't grow up to be a person like her mother. And I think there's a possibility she might not, especially what she found out about her mother. But I have a sneaky suspicion you may hear from her, that she might reach out to you. Maybe your parents might bridge and arrange a meeting or something like that, because her dad died months ago. And maybe he was a great dad to her. Who knows? Her dad died, so he's out of the picture. Now she found this bombshell about her mother, her family, and all that. And I hope that because of all this turmoil, it doesn't lead her down a path of alcohol, drugs, carousel riding, that type of thing, as an escape to a world that she doesn't know, or she feels like she doesn't know who she is, her family. And it may take you coming in to help out. I'm not saying you're responsible, but I am saying that might happen. So be prepared for that. But anyhow, bro, aside from that, great story. I really wish you well. Keep doing what you're doing in your life that makes you happy. Focusing on you, your grind, what you enjoy in life, the people in your life, the good friends you can trust, making something of yourself. And it'll be interesting to see where life takes you. But you're going to be all right. Because all the guys out there are going to be all right. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let this guy know what you think. Again, he's going to read every comment. So comment away what you think. All you different guys from all over the world, your comments and opinions matter. They do help. Even the smart-ass comments, they matter too. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.